following program contains explicit calls to political action. If you are addicted to the tax-exempt status, Randall might not be right for you. Check with your little sister.
Yeah, whoa, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Yeah, whoa, yeah, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Except for defeating the Nazis and the Axis powers and Saddam Hussein. And let me just think of a few more things and I'll get back to you.
Speaking the truth when others hold their tongues. Wrestling for justice with left-wingers and crocodiles. Resisting the temptation to keep the peace at any price. The only talk show host who writes his own theme music, Randall Terry.
Dang, I hate flies. I was trying to get one off of Obama's face and it just brought more. The question is, and yes, I'm going to actually discuss it, is Obama I don't even want to say the word. Just wait till I come back from this break. Get the professor going. Professor, save the day. Many people don't know the full title of Charles Darwin's book. Let me think about it. I can't even remember it. It's On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. You don't have to be a leading scientist like me to know that that is racist, that Chuck Darwin was a racist, that he was Hitler's hero. Now, I think the scientific thing to do is to just read the original Origin of Species. I'm talking about Genesis, people. Welcome to today's program. We're going to talk about President Obama a little bit later in the show and whether or not he is the Antichrist. I can't believe I haven't said it. We'll talk about it. But let's first talk about the devil in the room. All right, today is April 15th. It's the day when you'd better postmark that tax return of yours. Because if not, Uncle Sam is coming looking for you. The scriptures teach that we must pay our taxes. Okay? Romans chapter 13. Other places Jesus said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, render to God what is God's. But Jesus never said that everything belongs to Caesar. Do you understand that? I'm going to say some things in today's program about taxes that hopefully will bless you. And for some of you, hopefully it will rattle you. The progressive income tax is inherently immoral. The progressive income tax, and by the way, for those of you who don't know what a progressive income tax is, this is what it means. If you make this much money, your federal income tax rate is 0. If you make this much, well, then your federal income tax rate is like this, the percentage of the income that you have to pay. You can see on the screen the rates. But if you make this much, well, then you've got to pay a much higher percentage. And oh boy, if you're one of those filthy rich villains, you've got to pay an even higher percentage of your income. In the scriptures, we see that God wants a tithe. If you make $10, you give $1. You make $100, you give $10. You make $1 million, you give $100,000, okay? It's the same percentage no matter what. The idea that rich people should pay more, a higher percentage, is based upon what? Well, first of all, it's based upon a Marxist ideology. Karl Marx said that in a true socialist utopia that you would have a graduated income tax. That's exactly what we have here in America. We are following a Marxist dictum with our graduated income tax. But worse than that, hear me, and this is for my Christian brothers and sisters. It's based, I believe, on jealousy, greed, perhaps covetousness, a violation of the 10th commandment. You shall not covet your neighbor's goods. If somebody is fabulously wealthy, and I'm not, by the way, if someone is fabulously wealthy, we should not have envy toward them. We should not wish that the government would stick it to them and take a higher percentage of their income. And worse yet, we should not want the government to take a higher percentage so that the government can give some of their money to us. You understand the socialist utopia that we have become is about the redistribution of wealth. Again, one of the Marxist dictums is this, that the first purpose of government, or the reason that government exists, is for the redistribution of wealth. That is not from the scriptures. It is not just. It is unholy. It is certainly not in our Constitution. And it's based upon greed, covetousness, envy, and ready? Theft. If a group of us vote in a little community, we're all working hard, and there's a farmer with 1,000 head of cattle and a beautiful farm spread, and we get together and we say, hey, we're going to take a vote. We just voted, 70% of us voted to take 30% of Farmer Jones' cattle and 30% of his corn, 30% of his wheat, because he's got a lot and we want it, and we voted. And this here is a democracy. Fair and square, we voted, we're taking it. Hold on. It's still theft. It's still theft. And that's what we have in this country right now. So today, April 15th, when a lot of us are paying our taxes, let's remember that the graduated income tax is based upon Marx, Karl Marx. And it's anchored in covetousness and greed and envy. And it is fundamentally immoral. We'll be right back. We also have to talk about another birthday, the founder of North Korea, La-di-da.
It's time to crank it up. It's Randall Terry. Ow!
Friend, you need to get this book. We Won't Get Fooled Again. Listen to this. I came to the conclusion that most folks were left over from the Reagan era who were no longer warriors, but are now either too old or unhealthy and had compromised and become comfortable with the Republican establishment. They turned these organizations pretty much into direct mail fundraising fronts and were making tons of money and living the good life in beautiful mansions. The conservative movement had transformed itself from a very dynamic, principled organization in the Reagan years to a bunch of compromising, useless, and ineffective money-making machines. I'm reading to you from the new blockbuster book, We Won't Get Fooled Again, that names names, shows organizations, shows how they say that they're Christian, but they betray Christ, they betray biblical principles in the public square, and we are funding them. Go to the website, call us on the phone, and order it today. I'll send it to you for free if you want. God bless you.
Moments with Moses. And for those of you that are left, I will send faintness into their hearts in the lands of their enemies. The sound of a driven leaf shall put them to flight, and they shall flee as one flees from the sword, and they shall fall when none pursues.
One, two, three, four. No, 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 no. You say it's your birthday. No, 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 no. Happy birthday to you. No, 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 no. You say it's your birthday. No, 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 no. We're gonna shoot some missiles. No, 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 no. Oh, it's your birthday. No, 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 no. Let's have a nuclear war. Take this thing. That was pathetic. How do they let me get away with this stuff on television? Unamped. That was me unplugged. On a number of levels. Anyway, today is the birthday of North Korea's founder, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Il-sung. I apologize. Kim Il-sung. It's his birthday. he would have been 101. And his grandson is now ruling in his stead with an iron fist. Heaven help us. They actually use his birthday as like the start of the North Korean year. It's the closest thing that you could have to a holy day. Yes, a holy day. We begin the Advent calendar with the advent of our great and glorious communist leader who used to celebrate by imprisoning his political opponents. Oh, I'm sure he's got a really warm place right now for all of eternity. But it would be unjust for me to say that he was burning in hell next to Hitler, Mao Zedong. Anyway, that was unkind. So, North Korea, with all their bluster as they celebrate today, they're talking yet again about striking out at the United States of America. There's nothing new here. If you go back through decades, you will see this bluster. You will see this insane rambling. And I'm sorry that I'm even taking any time on the show. Just want you to know that it's going on. Interestingly, Russia, one of their high-ranking diplomats recently met with a high-ranking diplomat in America to say, look, we don't have any problem with what you're saying about North Korea. We stand with you. We're in agreement with your position on North Korea. The issue, of course, is God forbid that a real hot war starts. Because if it starts, it will be one of the biggest bloodbaths in a matter of days that has ever been seen in the history of war. Let's hope that that does not happen. Now, there's two other things that I want to talk about. I want you to contact, all right, got 2 minutes here. I want you to contact your House member and your senator, especially your House of Representatives member, to tell them do not in any manner, shape, or form go along with the Senate bill for background checks on firearms. I'm going to talk to you honestly for a minute. Please hear me. One of the most significant reasons that the religious right has failed on virtually every policy objective it has pursued in my lifetime. All right? Think of all the policy objectives that we want. No dead babies, no homosexual marriage, prayer in school, 10 Commandments in school or on courthouses. We just keep losing over and over and over again. One of the main reasons we keep losing is that an oligarchy of the religious right, like Focus on the Family and others, has emerged and told people the way to win is to send us money. Rather than teach you how to fight, how to be a citizen activist, how to lobby, how to hold your congressman's feet to the fire so that they fear you. Rather than train you to become a dread force for justice in your community or in your state, they have said, in fact, send us money and we'll do the job for you. We'll be a hired gun. Well, guess what? The hired guns have failed. I do this show to help train people how to fight. I want you to go to our website, voiceofresistance.com. And if you would like, you can send a personal letter from you to every single member of the U.S. House of Representatives. A fax letter will appear on their fax machine from you for pennies per fax. If you want to do that, do it. It's a service that we provide. The least you can do is call the number that's on your screen, 202-224-3121, and ask to talk to your U.S. House member. You'll get through to one of the staff and say to them, if my member votes with whatever bill emerges in the House to support the Senate with all this gun nonsense, this background check and leading towards registration and all of us having to give the government our personal details, if my House member votes that way, if you, sir, you, ma'am, do that, I will do everything in my power to see that you get the retirement you so richly deserve. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about flies and who is the Lord thereof. Bzzz. Want to buy a fly? Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. They sacrificed their sons and their daughters to the demons. They poured out innocent blood, the blood of their sons and daughters, whom they sacrificed to the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Welcome back to the program, friend. Coming up shortly, Obama, flies, and the Antichrist. But first, before I go to the absurd and the comedic, I'm going to ask you a quick series of somewhat uncomfortable questions. The doctor is in, and I would like to ask you a few questions. When is the last time that you voted? When is the last time that you went in person to your U.S. Senator's office in your area or your U.S. House member's office? In person, went and said, here's what I want, or I'm ticked, or I want to thank him for this. When is the last time that you held a sign at a picket or participated in a protest for something that is important to you? When is the last time that you wrote a letter to the editor that you signed with your own name and said, here I stand? When is the last time that you called your U.S. senators, your 2 senators, or your U.S. House member? In other words, when is the last time, and forgive me, I'm not trying to be unkind. For those of you watching on television, I love you. I want you to keep watching. For those of you watching online, I love you. I want you to keep watching. But remember, me teacher, you student, I'm trying to get to something here. What I want is for you to leave cyberspace, to step away from your television. After this show, of course. Because this republic was not born from blogs. It was not born from people getting together in a church and saying a few prayers. It was not born from a group of people getting together in someone's living room and having a cold beverage and whining about how bad things were getting. This country was born, and freedom has been maintained because of enormous physical sacrifice, physical exertion. Mental, yes, verbal, to be sure, but physical exertion. People took to the streets, ladies, so that you could vote. The reason that we don't have our children dying in coal mines is because a tireless, irate minority prevailed. You understand that? I believe it was it Samuel? Which one was it, Gary? That said that it is not necessary to have a majority to prevail. It was Sam Adams. Samuel Adams said, it is not necessary to have a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen to set fires in the minds of men. In other words, they were mad, they were irate, and they were tireless. They fought. They went out into the public. They distributed literature. They held public protests. The reason, ladies, you can vote is not because somebody was sending a blog, but because Susan B. Anthony went and demanded her right to vote, got arrested trying to vote, was put in jail for trying to vote. The reason that we don't have the Jim Crow laws is because people risk their lives crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge or going on freedom rides. And as I said in the last segment, the religious right has failed us in telling us that we can discharge our duties by simply writing a check or sign this petition. And we'll take that petition along with your check and we'll put the check in the bank and put the petition in the garbage. That's what they do with most of them. That's why we're losing. So think through these questions I'm asking you. I know, I've got to take a break. All right, I'm going. These people hound me. They never leave me alone. If you want great television, it would be 24/7 of this show.
Randall and I had just returned from the Northwest Territory and went straight to the Capitol. We managed to convince Secretary Seward that Alaska was a ripe plum, and he agreed to finance it. Seward's folly and Randall's folly have a lot in common. They both turned to gold.
Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today.
Don't try to be subtle or clever. Use a pile driver. Hit the point once, then come back and hit it a second time. A tremendous whack. Sir Winston Churchill.
This breaking news just in. 1/4 of Americans believe that either Obama is in fact the Antichrist or that he may be. I repeat, 1 in 4 Americans believe that Obama is the Antichrist or that he may in fact be. What that means statistically is that 13% of you watching me right now think that Obama is the Antichrist. And another 13% believe that, yeah, he might be. There are no green Martians on the front lawn. What do you say when someone comes to you and says, there's green Martians on the front lawn? What do you say? No, there's not. Some of you have not been around long enough to remember that Henry Kissinger was the Antichrist, or that Prince Charles was the Antichrist, or Mikhail Gorbachev. Yeah, he's got that thing on his head. He's going to have everyone put a microchip in their head or in their hand. Listen, if I have to choose between the microchip in my head or the one in my hand, I'm going for the hand unit. Do you really think that I'm going to go through the grocery aisle and have to scan my head over the thing like this? And then it doesn't happen and I'm congested and snot running everywhere? Just go with the hand unit. All right, I'm joking. Don't be upset with me, please. G.K. Chesterton said, that which is ridiculous deserves to be ridiculed. All right. In tomorrow's program, I will talk to you from the Bible, okay, to show you that, in fact, Obama's not the Antichrist. And, oh, by the way, neither is the Pope, okay? There are people watching this show right now who actually think that the Pope is the Antichrist. The Westminster Confession of Faith, the original Westminster Confession of Faith, says that the Pope is the Antichrist. He's not. Obama's not. And we will talk about what the Antichrist is and what all of the great errors and heresies have in common. Namely, the Bible. Hey, by the way, have fun paying your taxes to the Messianic monarch. Brrr.